If something happens, I'm on my own. His unease grew heavy, pressing into his chest like a coiled weight. He knew it was time to stop. Pushing forward in complete darkness was reckless. Then he saw the clearing. Just off the trail, about 30 feet into the dense forest, his flashlight caught a break in the trees. It was a perfect spot to set up camp, and when he stepped into it, his heart lifted slightly. The clearing wasn't just conveniently located, it showed signs that someone had camped here before. At the edge, barely visible beneath a layer of dirt and leaves, was an old fire pit. If someone else camped here before, they must have made it through the night just fine. Reassured, he set up his makeshift shelter. No tent, just a sleeping pad and a tarp overhead in case it rained. Soon, he had a small fire flickering, casting eerie, dancing shadows through the pines as he sat cross-legged, eating a can of beans. That was when it started. At first, it was just a feeling. An intense, gnawing sensation in his gut, like something was wrong. He scanned the black abyss of the tree line beyond the fire's glow, straining to see past the shadows. His mind played tricks on him, turning knots of branches into twisted figures lurking just beyond his vision. Then, something hit the ground near his feet. A rock. Not a huge one, but big enough to have been thrown. A marble-sized stone that had landed directly in front of him. Sam's blood turned to ice. He whipped his head around, flashlight jerking frantically across the forest. But there was nothing. The fire's light created a blinding halo around his vision, preventing him from seeing beyond the trees. For the next 15 minutes, Sam sat completely still, his breath shallow, heart hammering against his ribs. He listened, eyes darting back and forth over the tree line. Nothing. No movement. No more rocks. Eventually, he forced himself to rationalize it away. Maybe I kicked the rock by accident. Maybe it fell from a tree. That uneasy voice in the back of his mind screamed that wasn't true, but he needed to believe it was. Finally, he shook off the dread, crawled into his sleeping bag, and willed himself to sleep. A few hours passed. Then something woke him up. A primal, gut-wrenching feeling of dread sat heavy in his chest. He lay there, frozen, ears straining for a sound. Anything that could explain why he felt like his body was screaming at him to run. Then he heard it, leaves rustling. Someone, or something, was moving through the forest, roughly 30 or 40 meters away. The slow, deliberate crunch of footsteps over dried leaves. Sam's breath hitched. He couldn't tell if it was moving toward him or away. Then, just as suddenly as they had started, the footsteps faded. Silence. A beat passed. Sam's mind was spinning, trying to convince himself that it was an animal. But something wasn't right. Where was his flashlight? His hands patted the ground beside him. It had been right next to his sleeping bag before he went to sleep. But now, it was gone. Panic surged through him. He bolted upright, eyes scanning the clearing, and then, there it was. His flashlight, 10 meters away, lying on the ground. Someone, or something, had been less than a foot from his sleeping body. They had reached down, taken his flashlight, and then moved it out into the woods. Sam's throat went dry. It's a trap. They wanted him to leave his campsite, to step into the darkness. The thought made his stomach churn with raw terror. His hands clenched around his knife. He knew he had only one option. Stay put. He would stoke the fire as high as it would go, and he would not move. For the next several hours, he stood by the fire, clutching his knife, waiting. Every so often, he would hear footsteps again. Approaching, then stopping. Waiting. Every time his fire burned lower, the footsteps would come closer. At 3:00 a.m., his firewood ran out. And as the flames died down, Sam heard it. The sound of something moving to just behind the thickest trees, only 3 meters away. Sam couldn't see them, but they were right there. Watching, waiting. For 2 hours, they stood in that silent, suffocating standoff. Sam, gripping his knife, refusing to move, and something unseen lurking behind the trees, just out of sight. Then, the sun began to rise. The first hints of light crept over the horizon, and only then did the thing in the woods finally move. Sam heard retreating footsteps, fast, deliberate, disappearing back into the depths of the forest. Only when the full morning light flooded the clearing did he finally pack up his things and run. When he reached his car, breathless, trembling, his blood ran cold. Someone had written something in the dust on his back windshield. 2 words. Sleep well? Whoever had stalked him that night, they knew exactly where he had parked. and they had followed him there,